A very pleasant good afternoon to all of you. We welcome you to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where today on the SEC ESPN Network, we present gymnastics. The Texas Women's University's Pioneers take on the nationally ranked LSU Tigers. Welcome into the Maravich Assembly Center, everyone, with Lori Strong-Ballard, a former All-America at Georgia, a former national champion at Georgia, and a member of the Canadian Olympic team, and Ashley Lee, a four-year letter winner for LSU and an All-America. I'm Lynn Rollins. Lori, let's start with you. This is a totally different LSU team from 2017 to 2018, and yet the results, the success, has been virtually identical to this point.
Well, after graduating 3 amazing All-Americans and reloading with 7 new talented freshmen, many wondered whether or not LSU would be as strong. They've gone to the Super 6 final 6 times, and for the last 2 consecutive years have been the runner-up at the national championships. And even Dee Bro said, "We are just as strong, but we are a different team." That means their strengths have adjusted a little bit. Right now, bars is one of their best events. They've had to make some adjustments, though, on floor exercise, but that is what great teams do. They adjust and they reload.
LSU on Friday night broke through that magical 198 barrier for the first time in a victory in St. Louis.
And this is the type of performance that Dee Bro has been pushing her team to get all season. Hitting 24 out of 24 routines, showing some consistency and breaking that 198 coveted score. There's only 3 teams in the country who've scored over a 198. And in fact, LSU is building some incredible momentum right now, scoring over a 197 in every meet so far this season. You have to go back 31 straight meets before they scored below a 197 back in February of 2016. They are definitely on fire right now.
Ashley, it's not usual for a team to turn around and in less than 48 hours be competing again. How difficult is it for these LSU Tigers physically?
Yeah, that's right, Lynn. It's tough. They traveled to Missouri on Friday. They chartered there, had a masseuse with them to really help them prepare for today's competition. It's a great opportunity to get ready for Nationals. Nationals is a 3-day stretch, so having these meets, 2 meets in one weekend, really prepares you mentally, physically for what's to come at Nationals.
And we expect to see a little lineup tweaking from what we might see, say, in an SEC championship.
Right. They'll rest a couple people, maybe not in every single lineup. A little bit, like you said, a little tweaking, but give them an opportunity to kind of rest.
Well, the atmosphere here is electric. This is a spectacle. LSU Gymnastics has drawn over 13,000 a couple of times this year. This is the hottest ticket in town indoors. LSU Gymnastics has blossomed on the scene, and it's been extraordinary what this program has accomplished the last couple of years, and extraordinary the way the fans of Baton Rouge have responded.
It is absolutely amazing to come to these competitions now. Thousands and thousands pack this arena, really creating an amazing atmosphere for these athletes to compete in front of. And in fact, we talk about teams like TWU, they don't get this type of attendance at their home meet. So what an experience for this team to come into the Pete Maravich Center and feel this energy and get to compete in this environment. That's why they do college gymnastics.
Erin McAdeg will start on vault for the Tigers, followed by Ruby Harold, Juliana Canamella, Sarah Edwards, Maya Hambrick, and Kennedy Edney.
And LSU posted their highest score in vault just days ago with a 49.45. They will adjust the lineup just a little bit. Erin McAdeg will lead them off as she did on Friday. She scored a 9.825 against Florida, second week into the season.
Beautiful
Ashley, you were outstanding on floors and vault at LSU, and you were part of that run by the Tigers where LSU was either 1, 2, or 3, it seemed, nationally every year on this event.
Yeah, vault has always been an area where LSU has excelled, and year over year, really. But that was a great start to this lineup.
Brandy Lazarus will open it for Texas Women's, the Pioneers, out of Denton, Texas.
Competed for the first time on this event last week, scoring a 9.75. Overshoot to the low bar, toe hand up to the high bar, trying to hit those handstands. Release move. Zatakachov a little bit low on her height. You'd like to see them a couple feet above the high bar on those release moves. You can see that she has a big knee brace recovering from a little bit of a knee injury there. Always those dismounts are tough on the knees and the ankles. She took a little hop on her double pike.
Ball score for your Fighting Tigers, Erin McAday, 9.875.
Little short there. Good cast handstand.
Next up on ball for your Fighting Tigers.
And again, like you said, little hop on the landing.
Erin McAday scored 9.875 on the vault for LSU, and Ruby Harold is next. Harold averaging a little over 9.7 this year.
Scored a 9.825 in her last competition. Yurchenko style vault. It's a 1.5. That's a 10-0 start value.
She did a really great job executing that vault. Small step on the landing, but
You know that guy in the gray shirt who comes up and gives that big high five after each vault? A vault expert coach, Bob Moore.
yes, Bob is great. I came in as a walk-on specifically for vault, and he really helped transform me into a competitor on that event.
Vault to All-America, a walk-on to All-America. That's a nice story.
Yeah, it was great, and thanks to those coaches, like we were saying, Bob really helped transform me and a lot of these athletes.
Here's Skylar Jones getting ready to get started on the bars. This is not one of her better events, but she is an All-America in a couple of events that you'll be seeing later.
9.375 in her last competition here, so looking to step up a little bit today. She is a huge contributor for this TWU team, though. She's pretty much competed in the all-around in almost every meet, contributing big scores throughout. Nice job showing control in her first handstand. Giant full on top of the bar. That's a D skill into a release move. Oh dear.
She slipped.
The release move was a ginger, and she caught a little bit close. That killed some of her swing, and she needed a lot of momentum to make the distance from the high bar down to the low bar on that shoot over, and she simply could not keep her hands on the bar.
How much of a
for the kick.
deduction is that automatically?
That's a 5/10 deduction. So you can see how difficult bars is. It started from the giant full. She was a little off in her handstand. Then she had to directly connect that to the ginger. That was directly connected to the overshoot.
It's a difficult connection.
This apparatus requires so much that perhaps the other three events don't, with wrists, forearms, shoulders, core strength.
A lot of upper body.
I think that bars is the toughest event simply because it's a skill all of its own. You take floor, you do those skills on the floor, then take them up to the beam. Vault and floor are very similar. Bars is a skill of its very own.
She finished that routine nicely, stuck her landing.
Brandy Lazarus had 9.6 preceding this event.
And ball score.
Ruby Harold 9.85 on her vault. And this brings on Juliana Canamella, who has made great strides in the last year or so. She was fighting some freshman woes and some injuries. She's healthier this year, and she's been a really consistent contributor.
Tough athlete, a hard worker. And this is what makes your team strong, when you have those athletes who are putting the time in the gym and are ready to step in to competition whenever they're asked. Oh, beautiful. Gorgeous pop up off the vaulting table. That gave her tremendous height on that Yurchenko full. She gets the stick crown.
This lineup has done an excellent job with their landings.
And especially on vault, that is something that Coach Bob Moore likes to develop throughout the season. He does not expect them to come out the first couple weeks of season nailing the landings. He wants to see the technique there, the power there, and then the landings will come when the technique is on.
Didi used to always say, don't force the landing, don't force the stick, just let it happen.
Morgan Coley, a 9.637 average on bars this year.
Last time out, she scored a 9.7. TWU is coming into this competition after putting up their highest team score as well. So both LSU and TWU coming in here with some momentum. Shapash overshoot, toe on, 3 moves directly connected together, and you can see how important it is for each skill to be exact so the connection can be there. Dismount, trying to get a layout to a pike. That would upgrade that dismount from the double pike. Nice job. So the connection starts here with a shaposh from low to high. She goes back down to low with an overshoot and directly connects that to the toe on. Dismount, layout, into the pike.
Well done.
Edwards.
Sarah Edwards.
We talked about 7 new freshmen on this team. This is a walk-on from freshman who's been phenomenal for them. Absolutely brilliant in her vaulting technique and the pop she gets off on that 1.5.
There are 5 walk-ons on this LSU gymnastics team, and 3 of them have contributed in meets this year.
Right. Yeah, and I, like you said earlier, Lynn, I started as a walk-on and earned your spot in those lineups. And she's been consistent in vault and floor and done a great job.
You know, I think that's as you develop as a program too, and are starting to be the coveted program, the top program in the nation.
That's tough for you to say, being a former Bulldog, isn't it?
You do. You attract some really high-quality walk-on athletes who would probably get scholarships at other schools, but they want to be a part of this and what LSU has to give.
Here's Hunter Vincent on bars for Texas Woman's University out of Denton, Texas.
These routines will be important, hoping to drop that other score.
This is where the team has to step up. Nice job on a Pike Jaeger right into her overshoot. Pike Jaeger is an E-level skill. That's one of the most difficult skills you could do on bars. A little bit short of handstand there, into the dismount, double layout, hop on the landing, but it's a hit routine. That's what they're looking for right now.
Nice job.
I think it's important to realize, too, that this is a Division II gymnastics program. In fact, it's the only women's gymnastics program in the state of Texas. It competes with a reduced scholarship level and budget from Division I, but this is one of the better Division II programs in the country.
A Division II team only has 6 full scholarships versus Division I, which has 12, and TWU has been highly successful. They are the defending USAG national champions. They've won 10 national titles in their division.
In fact, they're hosting that national championship again this year.
It's Maya. Great in the air. A couple steps on the landing. She had a lot of power today. Beautiful, beautiful in the air.
Which is kind of interesting to see because they just competed 2 days ago on Friday, and you would think that some of that energy would be depleted a little bit, but on these vaults we're seeing so much power. They are massive and huge vaults. They just need to try and find that control on the landing.
Alyssa Kelly with a 9.7 on bars.
Toe on to handstand, connecting it down to the low bar. Nice lines. Working on hitting the handstand. Sky high Tkachev. Best routine so far from TWU. Just the dismount now. Popping it up, full twisting double back. Takes it out just a little too long. Hard to control that landing, but that was a high quality routine.
Great routine for TWU.
Vault score for the Tigers, Maya Hambrick, 9.85.
9.85 for Maya Hambrick on her vault. Kennedy Edney, who I think is the next superstar in the making in the Southeastern Conference, will wrap it up on vault for LSU.
Talk about power. This girl has a lot of power.
Last year's national champion on this event, first freshman from LSU to win an individual national title.
I was there, and it was a great vault.
See if she's got another one in her. Another massive vault. Yurchenko 1.5, 10-0 start value. That's what these top teams are looking for. They would like to get 6 10-0 start value vaults.
Again, a little step on the landing. Lots of power. Great in the air.
You have 3 phases in this vault. The run, the approach needs to be fast. And when you hit the board and then you block off the horse, that gains your height and momentum there. And of course, you want to keep a clean body line in the air and get the stuck landing.
Bria Northrup up on bars. One quick question about the vault. How much of a shock is it to your body when you make that initial contact?
I guess you just, after so long, you just go numb. You don't even notice the shock anymore. But if you land properly, you know, it's not
I think it is a little bit of an adjustment for the athletes at the beginning of the season when they take it from landing on soft matting or pit surfaces or resi surfaces to the hard floor. I definitely think that is an adjustment. But you get used to it. You tough it out. It's like in football getting hit. Nice. Beautiful dismount.
The last couple girls have really stepped up and hit their handstands. She really went after that routine. That was great.
So I think overall what you'll see a little bit of a difference between LSU and, say, TWU is that TWU lacks perhaps the depth throughout their lineups.
Right.
So they'll have some really highly talented athletes maybe near the end of their lineup, but that first, second, third up, they need to build a little bit on those scores to be competitive.
Kennedy Edney had the best vault score, a 9.9 to wrap it up for LSU, and the Tigers with 47.975. Or excuse me, TWU with that score, and LSU off to a nice start, 49.375 on vault. We'll be back with more as we go to the second rotation in Baton Rouge on the SEC ESPN Network. Rich Assembly Center, there's hardly an empty seat in this building again for gymnastics. LSU taking on Division II Texas Women's University out of Denton, Texas. Let's look at the scores after the first rotation. The Tigers with that 49.375, that represents the third highest vault score of the season for LSU. And you see the individual numbers. Kennedy Edney with a 9.9 to win the event. Let's look in the rearview mirror. We start with Erin McAday.
Yeah, Erin did a great job starting this lineup. Very clean, very powerful. We talk about the landings, and she did a great job holding onto that stick. Here, Julianne, she did great as well. Talk about those landings. Excellent job. Excellent job.
And freshman walk-on Sarah Edwards doing what she does best, and that is pop up this huge Yurchenko 1.5 vault. A little step on the landing there, but that's an upgrade in terms of start value. 10-0 start value. Kennedy Edney, the national vault champion, also doing a fantastic job. Look at the distance she gets, just a small step on the landing.
And we take a look at Bria Northrup, who anchored the Texas women's team on bars.
I'm going to say kinesiology major.
The scores ranging from Jones at 9.250. She had a fall to the high of 9.75 by Coley and Northrup.
And after the fall early in the lineup, you could see that TWU worked really hard, staying focused and fighting back for 4 big scores at the end, including this great routine accented by a huge double layout and almost a stuck landing. They have excitement. They are energized and having a great time here at this competition.
So the Tigers are off to a nice start. We will go to the second rotation. Texas women's on vault, LSU on bars when we return on the SEC ESPN Network. Gargantuan crowd in the Maravich Assembly Center to watch LSU gymnastics. The Tigers with their third best vault score of the season, 49.375 to get things started. Let's look at the Road to Nationals top 20, and again, the Southeastern Conference is well represented.
Nicely represented. LSU, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas, Alabama, all in the top 10. We have to make note that next week we'll actually go to regional qualifying score, which is what they determine who will go to the regional championships and then from there on to the national championships. And that is the top 6 scores. 3 of them must be away scores. You drop the highest and average the 5. So the rankings may change up just a little bit. And for LSU, that means that they're looking at trying to improve on a 197.15 score. If they can get better than that here, that will certainly help boost their RQS.
Yep.
And remember, those rankings were coming into the week, so that does not count LSU's 198-plus winning score on Friday.
Very excited to be hitting that vault. You can see TWU is working hard to keep their energy level up here.
Aaron Alderman.
Junior scored a 9.75 in her last meet. Yurchenko layout full, a little bit of a pike down on the landing. Great job for her, though.
First on the uneven bars for your Fighting Tigers of LSU, Sammy Durante.
Sammy Durante, Hambrick, Harold, Edney, Priestman, and Finnegan. On bars for LSU, this is Durante.
Durante's fresh off scoring a career high on Friday. She's absolutely been brilliant in this leadoff spot for LSU. Setting up nicely here.
Right on top.
Yeager, there's her pack salto down to the low bar. Beautiful pirouette in handstand. Sammy has gorgeous extension on this event. Tapping over the low bar in her giant, setting up her dismount well above the bar, just a little over rotated and takes that step.
She's been a consistent leadoff for this bar lineup.
A freshman who's instantly thrown into the mix, and she has been delivering week after week for the Tigers.
Great start.
Next on ball for Texas Women's, Morgan Coley.
Morgan Coley is next on vault with a 9.675 season's average. She's hampered by that brace on her right leg.
Chain with full. Great distance. Small hop.
What a great opportunity for this Division II team to come into this arena with 11, 12, 13,000 fans here today. This is not something they're going to experience even in the national championship meet. This is marvelous for a Division II team to have this opportunity.
Right.
And I think this is something that TWU often does. They try to put on their schedule some of the big teams. They'll compete against Oklahoma twice this year. They were here against LSU last year, and they enjoy allowing their athletes to be able to compete in this environment.
Maya Hambrick is next on bars following Durante's 9.8 for LSU.
Maya went 9.825. Giant full. Down to the low bar for an overshoot, hitting the handstand directly back up to the high bar.
Just the dismount. Perfect stuck landing. Wow. She knows how to stick landings.
Something LSU's been doing this year is rewarding the athletes with what they call a stick crown when they get perfect landings like this. So just trying to encourage them there. She's wearing the crown. Just adds a little bit of fun to pushing them to try to get those little details. That's what helps you win a national title, is getting those stuck landings and all the little details.
Megan Gentry is next on vault following Morgan Coley's 9.7.
Nice. Huge Yurchenko layout full. The start value there is a 9.95. There will be some deduction on the hop on the landing, but you can see the power behind this vaulter. You know, she was limited a little bit throughout her junior year after they removed some extra bones in her foot. She is a strong vaulter and should be a mainstay in this lineup.
Well, Maya Hambrick was near perfect on her bars routine, a 9.95, but she did have 110 by the judge. I'm not sure that every fan in this building knows by name what they're seeing, but they know when they see a near perfect performance, and we just saw one from Hambrick.
It was really great.
And I'm going to throw a name out here for you, Azuko Schluteren. That's what that skill is right there that Ruby competed.
Spell it for me.
So unique. We'd be here all night if I spelled it. There's a release move, a Jaeger. Just the dismount now. It's difficult. It's a blind landing, double front, and she sticks it.
Wow.
This
Another stuck landing.
is a great performance for Ruby as well. It seems like over the last couple of weeks she's been in a little bit of a funk, and this will be a huge confidence booster for her, hitting this routine so well.
And her routine's so different. Small step. Routine's so unique, so different. She has so many different skills, and she makes it look effortless.
And I love what it brings this bar lineup, just a little bit of a different look.
Lori Strong-Ballard, you and she have something in common, and that is to be a member of an Olympic team. It's pretty special.
It wasn't a very exciting time, and I know that she has a lot of amazing memories from competing 2 times at the Olympics. Another Yurchenko full from TWU, so we're seeing some strong difficulty here. Each vault seems to be getting a little bit more confident and a little bit better. Slight pike down on the landing, but a big smile to finish.
How many times do you see consecutive 9.95s on a bar routine? That's what we have seen here with Ruby Harold, again, near perfection.
Well, we talked about LSU being a little bit of a different team. In the past, they were ranked 5th, 6th on bars, and it was a little bit of their weaker event. They're ranked number 2 in the nation right now, and they just have such a solid bar lineup.
And one of the reasons why is the young lady on the apparatus right now, Kennedy Edney.
That was a huge release move. Just the dismount left.
Checking off the details, hitting the handstands. Oh, trying to
Great
stick
double
the
in.
landings.
Does that
Great
get her?
execution.
Does that get her a stick crown or not? That was pretty
Small
close.
step, small step. So clean, such a clean routine.
I think the standards for the Tigers are very high right now. I'm not sure if she would get that
I know
stick
she
crown
gets
for
the
that
crown.
one, but the routine itself was pretty impeccable.
That ought to be worth a bracelet or something. Brandy Lazarus, number 5 in the lineup for Texas Women's on vault.
Set a career high last week with a 9.825. Can she do it again here? Pops it up nicely. Small hop on the landing.
They all do a really good job getting away from the horse. There's a lot of distance in their Yurchenko fulls.
Especially in the last 3 so far in this lineup. A lot of that comes from being open in the shoulders when you make contact with the vaulting table. That allows you to get a good strong block and good flight into the air.
By the way, Texas Women's on the vault event has 3 All-Americas, Megan Gentry, Mallory Moordock, and also Skylar Jones.
Lexi Priestman, great start so far.
Every time I watch this bar routine,
on
it's
top.
pretty much exactly the same. Talk about consistency.
Can she stick it? All right.
Like a cat.
Another great routine.
Did you see any deductions?
Maybe a quarter, half a tenth for that sort of adjustment right here on the landing, but I would still give her the stick crown, absolutely. It was gorgeous start to finish and some big difficulty with that Tkachev directly connected to the pack salto.
And LSU's done a great job hitting their handstands. And we talk about handstands and landings and making a big difference. And they have done a great job getting those handstands right on top.
Skylar Jones on vault.
Huge potential here. Career highs a 9.925. She need a big one here. Blind landing. We saw most of the other athletes do a Yurchenko layout full with a 9.95 start value. This also has a 9.95 start value, but it's a little bit more difficult because of the blind landing because she only does a half turn. You see her landing with her back facing the vaulting table. That means that she doesn't have an opportunity to see the mat before the feet hit.
Well, the judges found very little wrong with Lexi Priestman's
Maybe you were right. Quarter tenth of the landing.
9.975 for Priestman.
This sets Sarah Finnegan up very nicely. The scores have been building here, and she has a beautiful routine. Huge ray that turns over so nicely. Gorgeous toe point. Down to the low bar, you can see Associate Head Coach Jay Clark standing there just in case. As long as he doesn't touch them, there's no deduction. Just a dismount, sets it up nicely.
Wow.
Sticks it. That's a big one.
What do you say?
Great end to that lineup.
We'll see what the totals are, but this might be the best bars score this year for LSU. If not, it'll be close.
The crowd wants a 10.
And I think as a team, LSU certainly with one of its best bar routines of the year.
She's got the stick crown. We'll see if she gets the perfect 10. She is the 2017 national champion on this event, the first LSU gymnast to win a national bar title. 9.95 on Friday. What will they give her here?
see 110.
Hard score for the Tigers, Sarah Finnegan, 995.
110, 199 for a 995. A few people in this crowd did not like that score.
Ashlyn Kirby will perform as an exhibition gymnast here on this event. A chance for her to get some experience in front of this huge crowd.
Anytime that you can compete under pressure, that is huge. I mean, you can practice all you want in the gym, but you really can't duplicate how you feel in competition unless you get out there and do it. Nice job on her Tkachev, short on that handstand. Toe hand down to the low bar for an overshoot. Swinging big double layout, comes in a little close to the bar. Pretty solid performance.
It still brought a smile, though, to her face, that's for sure.
That was a good performance.
Ashlyn Kirby wrapping it up. We'll come back and take a look at scores for you after a couple of events and resume in the Maravich Assembly Center. LSU gymnastics rolling. Assembly Center, the atmosphere is electric again for LSU gymnastics, and the Tigers are coming off their best bar performance of the season, the highest score they've had this year.
Bettering their previous highest score by a tenth with a 49.725. I mean, take a look at those scores. Starting with Maya, a 9.95 second up, and it was just huge all the way down this lineup.
We're going to look at the last 5 performers, starting with Maya Hambrick.
Maya Hambrick, the details are there. The exact body positions into that overshoot. Turning over the toe shoot to handstand. And of course, getting that stick crown with her full twisting double back. I mean, she is dead on. She knows her gymnastics right now.
Ruby Harrell did a great job too. We talked about how unique her routine is. Really has some great skills, and she makes it look so easy and did a great job on that dismount. Small, little tiny step.
Big smile and a huge confidence builder for Ruby Harrell. And now on to Kennedy Edney. A huge routine there with a big release move at the start of the routine. Into the dismount, double layout, stick straight body, just a tiny step back on the landing, almost pulling up for the landing a little too soon, getting some corrections already from Associate Head Coach Jay Clark.
Lexi Priestman, we talk about being consistent. She comes out and does the same thing every time. Sticks that landing, hits the handstands, clean routine.
She is a veteran in this sport, and capping it off with what many in this arena felt should have been a perfect 10. Beautiful routine from Sarah Finnegan all the way through to the dismount, double layout, control, almost finesse on that landing. Outstanding performance for LSU on bars.
Well, let's look at the vault scores for Texas Women's. 9.825 by the anchor Skylar Jones. The best performance for Texas Women's. Here's an update. The 49.725 that LSU just recorded on bars. Not only is it LSU's best score of the season, it's the best score of anybody in the country this season. So you have just seen the #1 bar performance by LSU this year, right here on the SEC ESPN Network. A remarkable performance. They were handing out those stick crowns like they were lollipops.
Yeah. And we talked about LSU making that difference. Now bars is one of their strongest events, and they are just showing it week after week.
We'll be back as we move on here in the Maravich Assembly Center after this timeout on the SEC ESPN Network. Way through the meet, a 99.10, Texas Women's 97.3. Here's what's coming up in the remainder of the season for the Pioneers. They will take on Centenary and then Iowa, and then a multi-team meet March 9th at BYU, and then take on Oklahoma as well. So this is a team that will, in fact, enjoys competition away from Division II.
They do not shy away from the big competition, and that's always what makes you a stronger team. You push yourself to compete against the best. First up on beam, Erin Magadag. Always their solid leader. LSU is fresh off a season-high score last meet with a huge 49.525. We talked about them possibly changing up the lineups, but today Dee will keep her same beam lineup. I think she likes to really set that in stone and go with that to give these athletes that kind
There
of
was a
quick
time,
experience.
a scant few years ago, when this was not a good event for LSU. The Tigers would have problems on the beam. The last couple of seasons, they have been extraordinarily good.
I think you take a look at where your weaknesses are. This is something that LSU's coaching staff does and Dee Bro does very well. They see where their weaknesses are and they build to strengthen those. And that means
no wobble. She looks rock solid.
She's been a very consistent lead for this beam lineup. Great start. I think she smiled the whole time.
they say smiling on beam actually relieves some of the pressure and the nerves, so that's a good thing. She is so fluid and confident on this routine, and that really helps put her team at ease. All the way to the end, nailing that gainer full distance.
Looks like she got a stick crown too.
Abigail Versman is on the floor exercise as number 1.
She's a senior. She scored a 9.75 last competition. That's a season high for her. Last week, the Pioneers scored a season high as a team on floor as well with a 49.175. That's a score they will be looking towards on every event. They want to be scoring in that 49 range across all 4 events.
Versman is a senior from Cottleville, Missouri. This is a bit of unusual music, isn't it? I like it.
Floor is a good opportunity to really show your personality, have some fun.
What we're seeing a lot of with the music this year, I'm finding, is you're seeing contemporary music that we listen to on the radio, but done in a more classical way.
Right.
And it kind of just adds a little twist to it. Front layout, front full. They are required to do a tumbling pass with 2 saltos in it. That meets that requirement there.
Texas Woman's is a school established in 1901. And even though it was established as a women's college, 12% of the student body of 15,500 is male.
It's very interesting fact.
Interesting.
Opening pass, double pike. Nice job. Look at the confidence on her face. Front layout to a front full.
Good start for Texas Women's.
Macadeg started with a 9.9 on beam for LSU. And here is Maya Hambrick.
For the 3rd week straight, Maya Hambrick has been SEC Gymnast of the Week, an honor that's well-deserved. She scored over a 39.55 in every all-around competition this year except for 1.
I want you to say that again because that rolls off the tongue rather easily, but extraordinarily difficult to win that honor that many times.
And to score that high as well, consistently across all 4 events. She is a very well-rounded, confident, and consistent gymnast. Very dependable on this team.
I love watching her compete. Like you said, it's just a very calm demeanor.
There's no hesitation throughout this routine, too. Look, she does a half turn, steps right into one of the most difficult things that she does in this routine, and that is her tumble series, the back handspring layout.
I think it's fair to describe what we've seen right here as elegant.
Absolutely elegant. The details are there. Keeping the shoulders down.
And confident.
Beautiful line through her toes, her fingers. Nice job in that routine. I really love this athlete. You know, she started when she thought about going to college. She didn't even think that she was good enough to be a collegiate gymnast. Then she had an opportunity to walk onto a team. That led to her improving and now having the opportunity to get a scholarship at LSU. And every year here, Maya Hambrick has gotten better with her gymnastics.
Bridget Peterson on floor.
Teammates getting into this routine early, getting her excited for this opening pass. It's a Rudy, a front 1.5.
Peterson from Collierville, Tennessee. This is one of 3 events in which she competes.
I never really could smile very much during my floor routine. I was either out of breath or too focused.
I was definitely not a smiler. That's why I always had very dramatic floor routines. I liked the intensity. I liked feeling that in the music and drawing from the fans and just being really intense through my tumbling and dance. I think you see so many different styles from these athletes, and whatever works for them and their personality, and I think it's important for the choreographer to work with that, both with the music and the dance. Taking a breath here. Whip half, front full. She definitely looks like she's having a great time.
Teammates on the side are having just as much fun.
They are staying in their bubble, they're supporting each other and having a fantastic time competing here in front of a crowd that's probably about 10 times the size of the crowd they're used to competing in front of.
And you mentioned that earlier. What an opportunity for them to get to come to these bigger arenas, big crowds, and get to come out and compete in this type of environment.
That's why they come and do college gymnastics, to have these opportunities. I asked
Bro if she had any particular connection to Texas Women's, and she said no, but she felt very strongly about what this gymnastics team was trying to do as a Division II program, and schedules this team as a way of supporting that. And that's a wonderful thing. And she said many of her colleagues also feel the same way. That's why they schedule the Oklahomas and many of the premier programs in the country.
Yeah. Dee Bro once again giving back to the sport and women's athletics. I really like what she stands for and what she's done.
Kennedy Edney on beam.
Step out, no wobble.
Kennedy had such an amazing freshman year. I mean, she came out, stepped into pretty much every lineup where needed, won a national title as an individual. She's dealt with a few injuries this year that slowed her a little bit, but she is a fighter, always there when you need her. When you know you've got a great athlete, you know, when the going gets tough, the injuries set in, and you still push through them. Nailing her dismount.
You talked about momentum earlier, and that's really what they're doing here, from one routine to the next. Building momentum.
And this is part of the strategy that the coaches look at. You know, who can we put up first that will put everyone at ease? That's Erin Magadeg. How can we build on the scores? They look at the style of the routine as well. And then they also have to look at where do they compete the best.
Yep.
Morgan Coley for Texas Women's. A school known for its nursing, for its health sciences. It has undergraduate, master's degrees, and PhD programs.
Double pike.
Wearing a substantial knee brace, certainly on floor exercise, the knees take a beating. Front full to a front tuck, a little bit off on that connection, but she fought through, held on to the landing.
I love seeing the teammates do the routine on the side. It's fun.
Having some fun and unique choreography.
That was a little bit unusual, showing flexibility there. That particular move.
She's doing doing a great job of making eye contact, not staring at the floor throughout her choreography, but looking up at her teammates, looking up at the fans and the judges as well.
Small hop out of it.
Nicely done, though, overall.
Good job.
Maya Hambrick with that 9.9 on beam, and Kennedy Edney with a 9.875.
Opening pass was a double pike. To front 1.5.
Next up on the balance beam for LSU, Christina Desiderio.
This is Christina Desiderio. Out of Hackettstown, New Jersey, a freshman.
Christina was actually scheduled to come to LSU next year. She graduated early and came a year early. She's young. She's had to come back from some injuries. Handspring layout solid, and it looks like things are starting to click for her again. She was a very talented and successful elite gymnast. I think these LSU coaches have done a fantastic job of being patient with her, and this is something when you bring in 7 freshmen. Some are walk-ons, some are past elite athletes. You have to look at each individual athlete and see what their needs are, and sometimes that means giving them some more rest, giving them some time to adjust to college gymnastics.
Great routine. And I think, too, there's such a difference competing in club gymnastics and then when you come into a college arena. It's a different environment. It's learning how to compete a little bit differently. Maybe your routines aren't as packed, but it's the execution is what's important.
And I think one of the biggest changes is that they're competing every weekend.
Right.
And that is
Traveling.
difficult on the mind. It's difficult on the body as well.
Aaron Alderman is next on the floor for the Pioneers.
Aaron has been super consistent for the Pioneers this season on floor. Every score has been in that 9.7 range. She topped it off with a high of a 9.85 last week.
And the next 2 performers, Moordock and Jones, each scored 9.9 on floor last week. Very good stuff.
TWU set a season high last week. And momentum is a big thing in this sport. It helps build that confidence. And when you have a confident gymnast, you're going to get the hits. You're going to get those above and beyond type routines.
Full front layout. This is one of those more higher energy, intense routines you were talking about.
Let's see if they've placed a landing mat here for her final tumbling pass. A Rudy.
A little bit out of bounds.
It's a 1/10 deduction for bouncing out of bounds. There's no deduction for putting the mat in. That is just for safety precaution. We talked about them competing week in and week out. It's important for the athletes and the coaches as well to make decisions that will help save their bodies.
Team score for the Tigers, Christina Desiderio.
Pretty good job on her double pipe.
9.90.
Another 9.9.
Christina Desiderio with that 9.9 on beam for LSU.
Campbell.
She'll be followed by Reagan Campbell.
I love this mount. You know, back probably during my days, a lot of people opened with a little more of a substantial mount, a press handstand, a front tuck mount, and they've somewhat gone away from that with gymnastics. It's just kind of bringing the old school back there.
How difficult is that, what we just saw?
Oh dear, a little wobble on her front aerial. It's difficult, and of course, starting a routine with that, you know, it doesn't give her substantial difficulty bonus. It's sort of more for show, but it means that she has to have the stamina, and it means that she has to be secure in doing that, because you don't want to start a routine off with a mistake or something you're hesitant on.
nailed that connection.
So something interesting that she did there, normally she goes front aerial to a back handspring, and that would be her series, but she broke that with the wobble, so she had to make up something here. So on the fly, she connected a back tuck to a back tuck, which gives her credit for her series.
It's probably something she practices for situations like that so that she can be ready to do that if needed.
Absolutely. As a gymnast, you have to be ready for every circumstance. Just the dismount, double full, a little bit short on the landing, but another great routine for Reagan Campbell. A freshman gaining valuable experience here on beam. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to see some big things from her on balance beam, opening with that difficult
and it's
strength
requires a lot
press
of strength.
handstand. Yep.
Reagan Campbell out of Coppell, Texas. Freshman. Erin Alderman had a 9.6 on her floor exercise.
Mallory Mordock with a 9.9 last time out. You mentioned that.
And the
Vault and
following
floor
gymnast
are
Jones,
her power events.
same score, so they were really good.
Sky high double pike opens just a little bit early, but you can see her potential
The
there.
amplitude is great.
She's got some energy, doesn't she?
They're all having so much fun. It
And a
makes
little
me want to
sass.
do another full routine.
Endurance. That would be a tough one. Double back. A floor routine is a minute and a half long, and it's pretty much an all-out sprint, if you remember, Ashley.
I remember.
The fastest 90 seconds in sports, right?
Yeah. I don't think
And-
I'd be able to get through a routine now.
All through it, you have to be performing facial expression, making eye contact, the smile, showing some character throughout the dance. There you go.
Last pass.
That works. Nicely done.
Very entertaining routine.
Clean landings. Small step on the first pass, but the other passes were clean and controlled.
Take a look at that first pass. Beautiful set up into the air. She had plenty of height. She just opened just a little bit early and took the step forward.
Reagan Campbell scored 9.725 on beam. And here is Santa Finnegan averaging just under 9.9, which is very, very impressive.
9975 on
beautiful
Friday.
routines.
I'm not sure if I could pick out a deduction from that routine on Friday. Let's see if she's dead on like that again today.
She makes it look easy.
Take a look at her feet. Every time they lift up off the beam, it is a full toe point. She hits releve when needed. There's the series, back handspring layout. Toes. Absolutely gorgeous. The
Extension.
extension, the flexibility, the details are there. Difficult skill, side summy. Here's the dismount. It's a connection from an aerial, back full. Teeny tiny hop back.
Small
Maybe
step.
not quite the stick crown, but we'll see.
She did the good arch back to cover it.
Sometimes that's an art in itself, covering up all of those little possible deductions, fighting for everything.
Especially when they get to nationals, those landings, those handstands, that is what's going to be the difference.
Well, we saw last year at National Championships how fantastic LSU was on the first day, and they won it. On the second day when the national title was decided, it was Oklahoma who stuck almost every single landing, and that's what did it for them and won them the national title.
Skylar Jones here, who had her best score of the season a week ago with a 9.9 on floor.
Beautiful height on her double back.
Her teammate Mallory Moordock, who preceded her, had 9.75.
She's a taller gymnast. Sometimes that can make things a little bit more difficult. You do have to be a little bit stronger. But often, I prefer the longer, taller gymnast. It makes everything a little bit bigger.
Especially on bars. Love watching taller gymnasts swing.
So far, we've seen 2 D tumbling passes with the double pike and the double tuck. What she'll need to do in her third tumbling pass is 2 saltos to meet the requirements. Skylar had a sister, Spencer, who also competed for TWU between 2012 and 2015, keeping it in the family. Double salto, 1.5 to a front layout. There it is.
Beautiful.
Double foot stick. Dramatic finish. Nice routine.
She really controlled those landings. She didn't move her feet.
In score for your Fighting Tigers, Sarah Finnegan, 990.
Double tuck, trying to get that double stick there as well. They are allowed to step back to a lunge, but of course it's always that little exclamation point when you double foot stick it.
I think sometimes when you do double stick, it adds just a little bit more to the tumbling pass. Like you said, you can lunge at no deduction, but especially Maya, she'll stick her double layouts and, like you said, an exclamation point to the pass.
So we move to the final rotation. LSU off to a very, very impressive start. We'll come back and set it all up for you as we get ready for the conclusion in Baton Rouge. LSU is coming off a team beam score of 49.475. That's the highest total for the Tigers on that event this year. And LSU with 148 plus, certainly with an opportunity to approach or exceed that 198 mark. Tigers on beam, you see it there. We'll start with Erin McAdeg in the rearview mirror. She opened with a 9.9.
That's right, Lynn. Opened with a 9.9, and we said it earlier, she's been a consistent leadoff for the beam lineup. Hits her landings, and she's so beautiful to watch.
Maya Hambrick doing a fabulous job with this routine, and what I think is interesting is we mentioned LSU's second meet this weekend. There was no mental letdown here on balance beam for them.
Desiderio, again, she got up, did what she needed to do, had to include that extra connection, but did her job.
3 outstanding performances on beam. We look at Mallory Moordock on floor for Texas Women's as Moordock with a 9.750, a very energetic routine. Let's look at her.
Last few up for TWU were pretty fantastic. The height she got on that double pike was fantastic. A little early on the opening of the landing, but it was a very entertaining routine. She had a great time out there playing off the energy of this crowd here.
So LSU in control of this meet. What kind of score can the Tigers finish with? Can they exceed 198 for the second meet in a row? We'll find out in a moment when we return to Baton Rouge on the SEC ESPN. LSU with a mark of 148.575 through 3 rotations. The Tigers competing more against the scoreboard than the opponent today as we look at the remarkable career of 41-year head coach Dee Bro. She started in her 20s and has been so enthusiastic over the years. Ashley, I want to start with you because obviously you came to LSU and were coached for 4 years by Dee Bro. Tell me about your initial impressions of her and then what she meant to you through those 4 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I was honored to be under her wing. She takes people in. She is dedicated to making you the best gymnast that you're capable of being, and she's also very nurturing and driven and passionate. And at first, I was a little intimidated, coming under her wing, but leaving it, I'm just nothing but just thankfulness, to be a part of her program. And when you're a part of Dee Dee's team, you're a part of her family.
And you did not see crowds of 11, 12, 13,000, although you were in the building years for this sport to become more popular, but this is absolutely amazing. It's unparalleled across the country.
It is unbelievable. I mean, they are selling out meets left and right, and we were usually between 4,000 and 6,000 attendees, which is still
very
great,
good, yes.
right? But to see the even today, it's a Sunday meet and it's packed.
Lori, your impressions of Dee Dee Bro's career from afar, so to speak.
Well, you mentioned passionate and a little intense. That's what I always got from her, and I think it's amazing after 41 seasons, she still applies that same energy and passion to everything she does, and she has so much to be proud of. I mean, they've built the best training facility in the country. You mentioned the attendance. They are one of the top attended teams in the nation. She creates high-quality opportunities for female athletes, and she's always going to bat for these young women.
That's right.
This is Brandy Lazarus on beam for Texas Women's. The 41 years that Dee Dee Bro has here at LSU matches Adolph Rupp's 41-year career at Kentucky. So when Dee Dee Bro returns next year, in history, she will be the longest tenured SEC coach ever.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
We had alumni night a few weekends ago, and it was the most alumni that came back. So she creates a program that people, one, want to be a part of, but two, you never want to leave. You're always a part of her program.
I think part of the success, as we watch Texas Women's on beam, the fact, too, that in Jay Clark and Bob Moore, very talented specialist assistants.
Right.
They have a camaraderie. They've got a purpose, and they're driven.
Right.
And all three of them are in various halls of fame.
Yep.
This is one of the best coaching staffs in the country, too.
I'd have to agree.
And Dee Dee will quickly give credit to her assistant coaches. It is a team effort, and not just with the coaches, but with the support staff. Those that help with the massages and the athletic training, the nutrition, and helping these athletes not only train at their highest level, but also get their schoolwork done and be great students as well.
As Dee Dee would say, it takes a village.
Unfortunately, first up for TWU, Brandy Lazarus having a fall on her series. That'll be something that they will look to make up for later in their lineup.
Please welcome Juliana.
Well, they say here in Baton Rouge it's floor time, and it's Juliana Canamella to get it all started. For years, many years consecutively, this has been a premier event for the Tigers.
Ashley Claire Kearney makes up the routines, choreographs the routines, and does a great job.
But we have to mention they did graduate those 3 seniors last year who were all in the floor lineup and super powerful here. Dee Dee Bro did mention she was adjusting to not necessarily having that leg power to depend on this event. And with that, they've had to kind of push some athletes to step up a little bit. And an interesting fact here is they have 9 different athletes competing on floor this weekend. That is building their depth on this event.
Right. And we talked about it earlier. It gives some athletes an opportunity to rest for these 2 meets, and that gives the other opportunity for some guys to compete for the first time.
Today we won't see Maya Hambrick or Sarah Finnegan on the floor. They're 2 best floor workers, and that means some athletes will get that opportunity to step up, get that competition experience, and round out their depth on this event. Juliana doing a fantastic job so far. Final tumbling pass, taking a deep breath. Endurance is so important, especially on this pass. Huge double back.
Beautiful double
no
back.
No problem. LSU is a very well-conditioned team, and you can tell when they hit those final tumbling passes, and it looks like other teams' first tumbling passes.
Talk about endurance. They don't seem phased. They just had a meet 2 days ago. They're not phased.
As we watch her again, I wanted to ask both of you performers, because you're familiar with this event in person. When do you know in that final pass, with that final event, whatever it is, that you're going to nail this thing? Or, it doesn't quite feel right? I mean, can you feel it in the middle of the tumble or the middle of the leap, where exactly you are?
I think, when you're on your head, it's usually not a good sign that it went well. But I think you can kind of tell, oh, man, the takeoff wasn't right. So you kind of maybe compensate in different ways. But
in
it
1/100th of a second.
Right. But I think you do start to kind of
I always
feel what's
found
going
when
on.
I got to the corner and my energy levels were up and I could feel my legs, I knew it was
Right.
going to be pretty good. But ultimately, on the takeoff, when you punch
Right.
the floor and you get the right direction and height, you usually know it's going to be pretty good.
Canamello was 9.825 on floor. This is Aaron Alderman for Texas Women's.
So with that fall in the leadoff, these girls are going to have to step up.
And I think perhaps Erin is either talking to herself during this routine or singing along to the background music. Whatever it is, she looks like she's having a great time.
Whatever
staying
works.
focused, staying calm,
Nice job.
finishing with a big smile. She's happy with that. She started the season off with an impressive 9.7 and has been a little bit rocky, a little bit up and down with her consistency throughout the year. So certainly getting a hit when the team needed it right now was important.
For the Tigers on the floor, it's Sarah Edwards, a freshman from Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Talked about her earlier, walk-on, been consistent in the vault and floor lineup, has done a really great job.
And at 4 feet 11 inches, she is the smallest LSU gymnast.
But probably with one of the biggest personalities, especially here on this event. She just has such a fantastic time.
Actually, Macadeg is
I was gonna say,
listed
I
a
think
couple
she
of inches
rivals.
shorter, yeah.
She's 4'9".
Oh, beautiful job on a front double full. Setting that direction up, fully completing the double full. Good clean form in the air. That's what the judges are looking for.
A little Showtime
Really
music.
having fun.
Yep.
I used to like to think if I looked at the judges or gave them a little wink, maybe, they'd give me an extra tenth or two, but no, it never happened.
Obviously, it helps if the judge is having a good
Right.
time watching you.
Good leap series.
I think that's probably one of the most difficult things for Ashley Claire Kearney is taking a freshman who just comes in. You don't really know their full
Right.
personality or how their body moves and trying to create a masterpiece like this that will suit them. She did a fantastic job with this routine. Every week, Sarah Edwards is gaining confidence. The landings are cleaner. You can see in the air. She knows she's got this.
Even throughout the whole routine, she just has this confidence about her. I think that's what a lot of this team is. They're just calm, steadfast, and confident.
We go back to beam.
Alyssa Kelly, senior. 9.8 last meet, 9.825 the week
That's a
before.
good score, yeah.
She is set up very nicely
Triple series.
with
Hang
Erin
on.
Alderman going 9.75 right before her. Something to mention in college gymnastics, you actually get an extra tenth of bonus if you do a triple flight. So showing some nice difficulty there.
Now, you guys mentioned that both of you thought perhaps bars was the most difficult event. As a novice, someone who couldn't even stand on a beam, I think what we're seeing now is one of the most difficult things in all of sports, to excel on that 4-inch wide beam.
Right.
With all of the acrobatics that are required and the skills and the courage and the strength and the flexibility and everything that goes
Right.
into this, I just think this is one of the most marvelous events across the spectrum of sports.
I think technically bars, because it requires its own skill set, is the most difficult technically, but in terms of mental
Right.
approach, beam is the most difficult. And they always say beam is the make or break
Yep.
event. If you
Been
have a team that can handle the pressure and hit under pressure week in and week out, you're usually a championship caliber team.
And I'm going beyond the sport of gymnastics. I'm including every challenge in sports. I think that's one of the biggest.
Len, you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you could stand on that beam.
Oh,
I think
no.
you'd be a great beam worker.
I couldn't get on the beam. I certainly could get off.
Much quicker anyways.
Dismounts, that's your thing. Ashlyn Kirby having a great season, stepping up for the Tigers this year. Front layout into a Rudy. Clean,
Beautiful.
great landing.
Another great pass.
Great
Huge
height,
double
good
back.
control.
Ashlyn Kirby out of Claremont, North Carolina, a sophomore.
One more pass to go. Front lay, front full.
Excellent.
2-foot step. Beautiful routine.
Without a doubt, the details are coming together for this LSU team. You know, in years past, quite often many people felt that they peaked too early in their season. And this year, it was not a slow start, but it was a little bit of an ongoing start, perhaps.
Right.
And I feel like things are starting to really gel right now for the Tigers.
Especially in the second half of the season. This is where you want to be.
Here's Hunter Vincent on beam for the Pioneers.
Career high is a 9.8. She has a sister, Taylor, who's a senior on this team. I guess that makes it easy for mom and dad to come out and support. Series, back handspring layout.
Hunter is an all-arounder, a sophomore from Tinley Park, Illinois.
Difficult leap. Anytime you land or turn in a leap or jump, that ups the difficulty. So that is a switch side, and that's a D-level skill, so she gets a 10th of bonus. These athletes are looking for 5/10ths in connection as well as difficulty bonus to give them a 10-0 start value. And then from there, the judges will take off things for unpointed toes and wobbles and all the other things. Teammates into it, right to the end. Oh dear.
Oh, no.
A little
I hope
short
she's
on
not
that
hurt.
dismount.
So they are going to have to count one of those.
Second fall for TWU. College gymnastics, 6 athletes compete, 5 scores count, so you can drop your low score, but now they will have 2 scores with falls in them.
Ashlyn Kirby was 9.925 on floor. And here is Ruby Harold. By the way, guys, as we watch Ruby Harold, we have just been updated that the LSU's bar score of 49.725 was the 5th highest in the history of collegiate gymnastics.
Wow.
And the highest score since 2004.
Wow.
Front double full, very difficult front tumbling pass.
She was excited about that.
Ruby Harold getting that confidence back again. She is a veteran gymnast, competing for Great Britain at the Olympic Games. Top elite gymnast in the world. She said one of the biggest changes, though, coming to collegiate gymnastics is that she couldn't depend on her difficulty. A lot of her big scores in the elite system came from throwing some of the biggest difficulty out there, but in college gymnastics, you throw a little bit of difficulty, but it comes down to being super clean and
What we were
consistent.
talking about earlier, you just want clean. You want to be able to execute, hit your landings.
Certainly something that she's been adjusting to. Last pass, back
No
one
problem
and a
with
half to
that.
a front layout, no problem. Great routine for Ruby.
Excellent job.
Ruby Harold for your LSU Tigers.
See how aggressively she gets into this final tumbling pass. A round off, 1.5 front layout.
Huge
I think
smile.
she was smiling before the feet even hit the floor.
This is great.
So the sophomore from Bristol, England, turns in a remarkable performance. Mallory Moordock for Texas Women's.
It's going to be really important that the rest of this lineup hits.
Saw her athletic ability on floor, but here on beam, you want to calm things down a little bit, stay aggressive, but rely on your repetitions and your technique. Difficult leap connection there, a switch leap to a switch half, switch side.
All across the country, gymnasts tend to be much better students than the average athlete, and for Texas Women's, in fact, their team GPA is 3.7. Their team GPA. And LSU's, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's also extraordinary.
Yeah.
I think overall, as a gymnast, you are so disciplined. You have to be disciplined in your training. When you're coming up through the JO and the elite system, there's so much time that you spend in the gym that when you're in school or doing your homework, you have to be focused and you have to be a great student.
Right.
The times I have traveled with the LSU gymnastics team, I've been really impressed because the bus time and all of the downtime in a hotel lobby, you're into your books.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
right.
amazing.
Studying, yep.
Beautiful, aggressive back handspring layout from Mallory Moordock.
So Ruby Harold out of
how
England,
much-
a 9.9, bloody good.
I love how much TWU is staying in their bubble. They are not getting distracted by what's going on over here on the floor, and it can be distracting in this arena, especially when LSU is performing on floor.
This is a fun routine.
Kennedy Edney.
Double Arabian.
Ashley Nat in the corner, really getting excited about that opening pass. It's an
Just
E-level
going to say,
skill.
it's so nice seeing her on the floor.
We miss her actually being on the floor, though.
Yeah.
She put in some great performances for LSU over the years. Still involved with the program, though. Switch ring, Turjete half. Floor is not just about dance and tumbling. You have to do leaps and jumps as well.
And dancing. Second pass. Another stuck double back. Awesome, awesome routine.
This crowd recognizes it. Some come
That was
to their
great.
feet.
Opening pass, huge power into a double Arabian. It is a blind landing. She holds it in bounds. Showing strong power to the
That
end with this
stick.
double back, a double foot stick. That
Especially-
is huge
Yep.
awareness. And I know this is something that Dee Bro and her coaching staff work hard on, is a lot of sticking drills, and that
Right.
pays off in the performance on the floor.
Especially do that at the end of your routine.
Here's Skylar Jones following Mallory Moordock's very nice score of 9.825 on beam.
Skylar competed beam 14 times last season and in every meet her freshman and sophomore year, so she's gained some valuable experience on this event.
Series.
Very interesting and difficult series, a round-off layout. It's difficult because a round-off is a turning skill.
Right.
And every time you do a turning skill on the beam, it really opens up the opportunity to go crooked.
And a lot of people do that as a dismount to get off the beam.
See her talking to herself, heading into this front toss, connecting it to a changement. Usually the athletes are giving themselves just those little verbal cues. What do I have to think of?
Staying in their zone.
Dismount. Nice routine. Fantastic routine.
The second half of their lineups, really doing what they need to do to make up for some of those falls.
Yeah, we mentioned just with a little bit more depth, but we have to keep in mind a Division II school, they're dealing with 6 full athletic scholarships versus 12 on a Division I school. So a little bit less of a talent pool to deal with, and they're doing a fantastic job of preparing these athletes to be successful.
Huge floor score for Kennedy Edney, 995.
For your Tigers, Kennedy Edney, 995.
More than 11,000 fans in attendance today.
Final performer of the afternoon, your floor anchor for the Fighting Tigers,
Lexi Priestman will anchor it for the Tigers on the floor.
Lexi Priestman, she has so much potential on this event, but really has not cracked the lineup that often because of her potential injuries and the injuries that she's had to overcome. They really try to protect this athlete, but I think they'd like to see her in this lineup more.
She's from Cincinnati, Ohio, a junior.
It's the first bull-in we've seen this meet.
Beautiful full split position in those leaps. Coming out of her box a little bit in her choreography, giving us a little look on the sideline before that second tumbling pass, a gorgeous 1.5 to a front layout. This is a confident, well-trained athlete.
You can really have fun at this point too. Your lineup is hit, you're the last one up. Sure, you want to do the best routine you can, but you can just really have fun at this point. Not as much pressure.
I think Lexi wants to put that exclamation point on another great night for her team. This is a routine for the team. Last tumbling pass. Yep.
Good for her. Wow.
And with a smile that lights up this stadium, absolutely gorgeous.
Double pipe.
LSU takes out their top 2 floor performers. Lexi Priestman anchors this floor lineup and comes through with a routine like this. Outstanding work.
Phenomenal job. Again, we keep saying it, but they are just nailing their landings, and that's key. Awesome job. I think she was happy about that.
Tiger fans, our final team results.
Well, I don't have the final team numbers, but I can assure you, based on what we know, and there are the final numbers, LSU indeed goes 198 plus for the second straight week, and remarkably within 48 hours of each other.
Another 198. We said it earlier, their first 198 of the season was Friday, and here they are again with another 198.
So LSU easily winning Texas Women's, but the thing that's impressive is 2 consecutive 198 plus scores. They've updated it now, 198.175. LSU with another very high mark. The teams across the country will be paying attention to this.
And to do it, like we said earlier, within 48 hours, you're coming off of a meet on Friday, this is what you want to do to prepare for nationals.
And keep in mind, this is not necessarily their top lineups that they'll have at the end of the year. Certainly gives them a lot to look at and to consider with several athletes stepping up tonight.
Well, let's go back and look at some of the outstanding performances for LSU on floor. We start with Ashlyn Kirby.
Front layout, front 1.5, absolutely gorgeous, keeping the legs glued together.
And Tiger fans, your final team score for LSU.
Ruby followed that with a great performance as well. I'm pretty sure she smiled the entire time.
They've done it again today. 198.175.
Getting that confidence back into her gymnastics. She looked like she had a fantastic time out there from start to finish.
And that was the shift in the momentum. From there, this floor team took off.
Kennedy Edney up right now for LSU. She was dynamic.
Explosive tumbling, opening with the double Arabian, double foot stick on the double back.
Effortless.
So LSU with its highest score of the season a 198.175, and this comes less than 48 hours after a first 198 plus in Missouri on Friday. We'll be back to wrap it up from the Maravich Assembly Center. A crowd of more than 11,000 on hand as LSU continues its excellence in gymnastics. Final score, it's the best number of the year for the LSU Tigers as they go 198.175. It's the highest score of the season for LSU, and every one of the events obviously were really good. Let's go back and look at the bars, though, because that was an historic performance we saw. The 5th highest bar score in the history of collegiate gymnastics.
It was an amazing, amazing bar team. It was great.
And LSU was fantastic on Friday on bars, and they did better than that here today as well. I mean, the fact that they can take an apparatus, an event that was one of their weaker ones over the last couple years, and now make it their strength, that is why they are a team that will contend for a national title.
Does this score, following the meet Friday night, 600 miles away, make that even more amazing, or do you think LSU is just hitting its prime in the spot, in the place in the season it wants to?
I have to admit, I wasn't expecting another 198 from them, assuming that they were going to mix up the lineups, knowing that they just competed a fantastic meet where the energy and the enthusiasm was all full out on Friday. I was expecting a little bit of a letdown here. So the fact that they came in here, mixed up the lineups, and were able to get that huge score again, I mean, they are sending a bold statement to the rest of the country.
Ashley, what about your final impressions of this LSU meet today?
Yeah, I think they really kind of found their stride. We were thinking coming after Friday's meet, they changed the lineups, maybe they'd be a little tired, but this team, second half of the season, they're really gaining momentum. They're just composed, confident, and I think they're in a great place.
Well, they certainly are in a great place, and the LSU fans have responded. Another crowd of over 11,000 today. There were hardly empty seats in the Maravich Center. So LSU wins again as it sets itself up for the conclusion of the season. For Lori Strong-Ballard and Ashley Lee, I'm Len Rollins saying so long from Baton Rouge, where the final score is LSU 198.175 to Texas Women's 194.2. To watch this entire meet on replay, as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to WatchESPN.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.